So welcome back to our channel, and today we're going to be doing a yard tour. So we're going to show you guys around, show you the stables, the facilities, what we have here at Gorse Farm, which is where we're at, and going to be doing a bit of a Q&A as well later on. So I've asked everyone to do some questions on Instagram, so we're going to talk through those, and yeah, hopefully you guys can learn a little bit more about me and our journey and what we're doing here. So let's go. Okay, so we're back home now, and this is sort of at the back of the stables. I'll show you around the place briefly. Obviously this is the lorry. It's a 14-ton Sovereign. It only takes it's stalled for 4, but takes 3 horses at a push. But it's got lovely living in it, and obviously I'll show you all of that at another time. It's great for stayaways and stuff like that. And then as we come around here, ignoring the muddy patches and so on, we've got, there's 30 acres in total that surround the house. We've got a house in the middle and 30 acres all around. We've got a big 14-acre field here, which I think probably later in the year will split. So we've got more smaller paddocks, I think. This is our arena here. So we've got a 25 by 40 arena, which is perfect for like training and stuff. I'll show you around it. Any flat work, pole work, grids, smaller type fences really, and cavalettis, that sort of thing, training. I don't really jump much bigger but obviously with it being quite tight, I'm quite conscious that I want to make sure that when I'm jumping courses, even if it's training, I can ride forward, which is why it's great to be able to hire Ashwood across the road. I can jump small courses around here, 4 or 5 fences or something, but if I want to really train properly, it's nice just to be able to hire somewhere and get it a bit more of a flow. But it's great for training, and the surface is great. Sand and rubber during the winter is perfect. So here is we call them the foals, right? They're not foals, but we got both of them when they were foals. Flo, which is this bay one here with the blaze, or the white face basically. This is Flo. They're both 2-year-olds now. She is, well, we got her through a foal from the Bolesworth Elite Foal Auction 2 years ago. And she's Agonix out of Pedinius out of Clinton. And then this is Frankie, who is Flo's mate basically. So I mentioned to a friend of mine that we just got a foal, which is Flo, and I said that we're going to need a friend for it, and I was like, I don't really want to have to buy another foal just to keep the other one company. And he said, well, I've literally just had a foal and I need a field mate for it. So I said, well, we'll send it over and then they can just grow up together. So we have Frankie and Flo, and they're just best mates really. And here is Ava. Hello. Oh, this is my little French bulldog, Ava. I'm sure lots of you have seen Ava on social media and stuff. I love posting about her. She's are you cold? You look frozen. You need a jacket on. But yeah, she's really cool. And see the foals. You seem to like her, don't you? Hey. No, she doesn't like you though, sorry. Good girl. So anyway, the foals, or the 2-year-olds, they have 8 acres basically all to themselves that they can run around in, they can play, do whatever, and then they've got a flat as well. And I'll show you Ava, get down. Ava, sorry. Oh my God, you're filthy. It's fine. Ava. Anyway, this is the back of we call them the works, which is basically just a big workshop, which we just use for storage and so on, and the wash bay, etc. is in there. You're being watched by the looks of it. Oh, you're beautiful, aren't you, Flo? Hey? You're a good girl. Yeah. And you, Frankie. All right, so carrying on. So this is around the back of the stables. So are you okay? If you want, yeah. This is Martin. Say hello, Martin.
Hello. I'm the stable hand.
He says he's the well, you're the groom, aren't you?
I'm the groom.
You think you are?
Unpaid groom.
So we now move on to the stables. So we have 5 internal stables in here, all Monarch built about 20 odd years ago. This is Charlie, who is, you may have seen him earlier. He is actually, is he 21 this year? He retired when he was about 15 because he got a keratoma in his foot. He's the sweetest boy. But it just meant he did recover and he's sound now, but he wouldn't have really made a full recovery to be able to compete. So unfortunately, he doesn't get to jump or anything anymore. But But he's living life, you know, to his fullest. He's enjoying stuff. And we've got Lottie, obviously. You saw Lottie jump earlier. Charlie, behave. And yeah, so Lottie, obviously, they all moved here about 3 years ago. We were based somewhere else prior. So, but 3 years ago, they came here. And then Isla stable. There, good girl. And then Molly. Good girl. And then we've got the star of the show, Louis, who is, I mean, he is absolutely huge. He's a monster. But he's how old is he? He's 12 now. Ooh, good boy. And he is actually by Arco. He's quite well bred, but he was bought as a companion for Charlie as a 4-year-old, and we jumped him a little bit, but jumping was not his forte, unfortunately. And then he picked up a couple of injuries just in the field, and he's sort of now semi-retired now. Maybe he'll come back into work one day, but yeah, we'll see about that. Anyway, but he's lovely though. He's a really sweet boy. He's covered in mud. He's coming from the field, sorry. But yeah, that's it really. So that's all the animals that we have. Here we have the tack room, which is where we keep obviously all the tack, etc. Surprise, surprise. And then the last thing I'll show you is the office, which is in here, which is where all the magic happens, basically. So if you come in, you can see on this side, basically, we have our office space here. Obviously, we keep all the lenses, anything else, all gets securely locked away and stuff like that in the house in the evenings, but in between things, obviously bring them in here. We've got Starlink on the floor here, which I absolutely swear by. Like, I absolutely love Starlink. But as you'll notice, the problem I have is because it's not plugged in, I have to put it through the door. So I basically have to have it on the floor out here, and then I turn it on, and I get internet, but I can't. I used to have it up there, as you can see. But for whatever reason, the cable stopped working. So I need to get it sorted, but that's the next thing. And don't look over there because it's a mess. No. No, it's not. This is just where we charge things, and I need to sort it. But yeah, we keep everything on charge overnight and stuff in here, any batteries, etc. So that is pretty much it. Oh, look, Ava's here. She's got a ball.
I thought that was an orange.
What you got, Ava? What you got, Aves? Hey. Good girl. So anyway, that's the end of the tour. I've shown you guys around a little bit, and yeah, what we'll probably do next is we'll have a sit down. I asked some questions on Instagram yesterday. We'll ask people to ask me questions for a Q&A, which we'll do next. So we've just ridden the horses, and obviously we've done the tour, so you guys have seen the place. And what I'm going to do is just finish up by doing a bit of a Q&A. So on Instagram, I just asked everyone to put some questions forward that they would want answering. So I'm just going to go through and answer a few of the questions now. So to start with, the first question that actually got submitted was, how do you balance working and riding? Which is, it's quite a good question. And people do ask me that quite often, is how do you balance having competition horses and doing work? But to be honest, for me, it's very much a case of I either am working or I'm doing the horses. It's, you know, I don't really have much life in between that, which is, it's fine. And I remember when I was doing a lot of sports and so on, the one word we used to use a lot was the word compromise. So instead of sacrificing a social life, you compromise a social life in order to fulfill other dreams or other sort of aims that you have. So for example, I compromise social life or a scene as social life in order to be able to do the horses and have work and balance that. But realistically, we're quite lucky when we work in the horse industry, because when we go to shows, for example, it's a very much a social event. You know, the people in the industry are great. They're all really nice people. So therefore, when we're at shows, we can be sociable, we can talk, have those conversations and so on. So it's not like you've got no social life. It just means that you have a social life, but it's sort of encompassed within the life that you have with the horses, if that makes sense. Next question was, how's Frankie doing? So as you would have seen before, Frankie is here, she's doing great. She's obviously living life with Flo and they're having a great time. And yeah, she's 2 this year, same as Flo. So she'll be probably going back over to her owner next year at some point so that they can back her and so on. But I look forward to seeing Frankie out at shows with Flo and they can do hopefully 4 and 5-year-old class and stuff together in the future. How did you get into videography? So videography I fell into it in some respects. I didn't obviously have education in videography and that's not really what I'd always wanted to do, but I've always been fairly creative in what I do and I've always enjoyed being creative, but I've never really known how to apply that. So it was probably just before COVID, I picked up a camera and I was using a camera for various reasons for sort of marketing and so on of other things that I was doing. But video actually, it wasn't really a thing at the time in terms of the equestrian industry. You had live streaming and so on, but actually short form reels weren't quite a thing at that point, but they had started to become a thing just before COVID. So I started doing some promos for people. I did a couple of sort of adverts for a couple of friends basically. But actually the first thing that came around was a friend of mine. He messaged me asking if I could do a promo of his yard. He'd just moved locally and he wanted to fill the stables with liveries. So I said, yeah, that's not a problem. So I went and I got some footage and I'll stick a video over the top of this that can show you basically what it looked like. And I look back now and it looks awful, but I did really enjoy doing that. And he then recommended me to a friend of his and that friend happened to be a sponsor of Bolesworth. So Windmill Farm, they needed a video because they needed a big screen ad for the screen at Bolesworth. So I went to their place, we did the big screen ad. Bolesworth saw the advert I had done and asked if I could do some stuff with them. So I did some stuff with Bolesworth, and I think having got into an event like Bolesworth very early on in my videography career just sort of projected my sort of what I wanted to be doing over the next 5 years. It just brought everything forward by quite a few years, which is great, but also it all happened very quickly for me. And obviously I still had the horses and I still have got the horses, but it meant I struggled to work out how to balance everything because everything's happening so fast. But I don't regret any of that and I absolutely love doing what I do, and that's sort of basically how I got into videography really. So someone's asked me what my favourite theme to shoot. So I think they mean basically like educational videos, brand promotional videos, or training and reels and so on. And I think that's a good question. I actually had this conversation with Holly, who stood behind the camera. I had the conversation with her like only half an hour ago about the different types of content and how we, the different purposes they all have. And I have to say, I've always enjoyed doing short form content more. I think you're able to be more creative with it. You can use your imagination a little bit more when you're actually on the shoots. Whereas when you're doing, for example, training content, or if you're doing sort of your long format content, you don't really have the opportunity to be as creative because you have to get the content. Whereas when you're doing short form stuff, even like if I do stuff for events, you can be creative with it. You can, you know, use that opportunity to get different angles and try things and see what works, what doesn't work. And that's what I use events for more than anything now, is actually being able to experiment with different things, whether it be different camera setups, different editing suites and so on, how I do that. Any LUTs and so on, I can experiment using them there. And I have to say that is probably where I'm drawn to more, is that short form, punchy social content, really. But saying that, I love getting stuck into like a really good promo, whether it be like a TV advertorial and so on. I do really enjoy doing those. And I love doing the documentaries and I love doing the training content. I love doing anything equestrian video, but to be honest, for me, it has to have horses in it. For me, it doesn't really interest me unless I'm filming something either with horses or something that's to do with horses. I tried doing a circus once, and yeah, that unfortunately it wasn't for me. I couldn't quite get into a groove of it. I couldn't understand the angles I needed to get and so on. So for me, just doing horses, I understand horses and I love filming them, so I can do it all day, every day. So someone has asked me, what did I get into first, horses, filming, or media? And as you probably would have guessed, obviously horses were always my first love. So my mum has always had horses. And I then sort of did pony club and so on with the Crew and Pony Club. And I then went to Hartbury College, But that time I was starting to do more sport than with horses. So it meant that we had to sell the horse I had at the time, which was very sad, but there was a purpose for it. So from the age of like 12, my life was like mapped out on where I was going to do what and so on. So the plan was when I got to 16, I went to Hartpury. I was there for 2 years doing modern pentathlon alongside my A-levels. And then I'd go to Bath where I'd do like a university degree alongside full-time training. And with all that, obviously I can't have horses, it just doesn't work. So the horse had to go when I was about 15, 16. And I then trained for solidly sort of full-time for a few years. But then realised that that really wasn't my passion anymore. I sort of fell out of love with the sport a little bit, as much as I loved the success that came with it and how much fun it was to be with your friends all the time training. I just fell out of love with the sport in general. So I think part of that was because I didn't really have the opportunity to ride horses as much when I was doing pentathlon. So it meant that as soon as I stopped pentathlon, the first thing I did is I went and got a 3-year-old unbacked, which was Isla, and was probably a bit too ambitious, I would say, at the time. But I don't regret any of it because I mean, she's the most amazing horse I've ever had and all the rest of it. But at that point, I really wasn't that much into videography and stuff. I was always interested in social media and the media side of things and marketing, particularly the marketing, really, for me. But really, the horses were always the first thing. And then I started show jumping. I did some stuff with Isla and obviously did some stuff with Lottie and so on. And it meant that I sort of had a bit of a network and friends and brands and people that I knew well in the industry. So I could then sort of start reaching out to them quite early on, which I think has all helped to come into the industry and do videography, just specialising in horses, because that's sort of what I've always loved doing. But yeah, horses definitely always number one, and work is a very close second at the moment. How much do you love your amazing sister? I don't. No, that's from my sister Jess. No. Okay, so someone's asked, one piece of equipment or tool you would never be without. That is a good question. What would I never be without? I think it sounds stupid, but having like that one camera that you understand inside and out, you know, for me, whether it be the R5C, just having complete understanding of how it works, all the mechanics of it, knowing all the settings that are on it, how to get the best quality image from everything, for me is really important. For me, the first camera I ever had was, hold on. Hey, sorry. Is this bad boy? Which I haven't used in God knows how many years. But this is obviously a Lumix camera. I don't even know which one, but it's a bridge camera. Bridge meaning it basically has like a telephoto lens within the camera, so you don't have interchangeable lenses. And this camera, I believe, was actually my dad's camera that he bought in 2008 when we were going on safari in South Africa. And he basically wanted to have a camera that he could sort of take on safari and take a few videos and a few photos and whatnot. So he got this, and I then started using it a little bit, probably when I finished doing pentathlon and all the rest of it, and when I started to play around doing some marketing. It was the only camera I had lying around. So I started playing with it, and it was awful in many respects. Like the camera itself, when I looked at it, like the quality is just nothing like what we have today. But from back then, it was a great piece of kit for me. I managed to learn a lot of things about aperture and sort of different focal lengths, etc. I learned all of that from a bridge camera, which is crazy to think about these days. Someone's asked what my biggest camera pet peeve is. And actually, it probably relate back to that, is when people go on about having the best equipment and having to have, don't get me wrong, I'm all about investing in what you're doing and investing in the right things and so on. But you can create just a high quality production with, for example, a £5,000 setup than you could with a £15,000 or £20,000 setup. But some people seem to think that if you just keep pumping money into buying new gear, then automatically your content's going to get better, and that doesn't always happen. I think the most important thing to do is to actually master the gear that you've got and be really happy with what you're producing from it. And then when you step up, you're then back to square one again. So then you have to sort of get the maximum out of that piece of kit. And I think by doing that, you're always looking for the best quality without sort of having to spend loads of money on kit. So I think my biggest pet peeve would be people saying that they need, I need a better camera and all the rest of it, which isn't really the truth. I think just maximize what you've got, and then the better cameras will come to you eventually. I think that's it really. That's all the questions. Sorry if I didn't answer everyone's, but hopefully I answered them in a roundabout way. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then obviously like, subscribe. I don't really know what they say, but anyway, be great if you guys let me know in the comments as well, anything you like or don't like. And yeah, we can hopefully gradually make our content better and better. Because I've said it before, but I'm always telling clients about video content. They need to make it, they need to be doing more video content because it's key. And I'm here and I'm only just starting a YouTube channel, which is stupid really, considering YouTube's so big in terms of video content. So hopefully this is going to be the start of something that can go on, and we're going to be trying to do as much as possible. If you've got any other questions, then always just drop me a message. And if anyone needs anything, let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.